The first shots came without warning. Plasma bolts lit up the darkness around Kepler Station like deadly fireworks. Commander Zara Veltane watched from the station's command center as 12 massive Zephyrian warships surrounded her home. Each ship was 3 times larger than anything the peaceful Altarians had ever built. "Shields at 60%, called out her tactical officer. Another wave of plasma fire hit the station's barriers. The lights flickered and Zara felt the deck shake under her feet. The Zephyrians had given them a simple choice. Hand over the quantum mining operation that fed half the sector, or die. For a species that had never fired a shot in anger, there was really no choice at all. The Altarians were farmers, scientists, and artists. They built things that helped people live better lives. They did not build weapons of war. "Send another distress call," Zara ordered. Her blue skin had turned pale with worry. "All frequencies. Tell them we have 8,000 civilians on this station." The communications officer shook his head. "The Galactic Council is still debating. The Terran Federation says they're monitoring the situation. The Vegan Republic offers thoughts and prayers." He paused. "No one is coming, Commander." Zara closed her eyes. Her daughter Kira was somewhere in the lower levels with the other children. The evacuation shelters would protect them from small attacks, but not from what was coming. If the Zephyrians decided to destroy the station, nothing would save them. On the main screen, General Krex Vorthak's ugly face appeared. The Zephyrian leader had scales instead of skin and teeth like broken glass. His species had conquered 12 systems in the past 50 years. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who stood in their way. "Altarian scum," he said in his rough voice. "Your time is up. Surrender now or watch your children burn." "We are a peaceful people," Zara replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "We have done nothing to harm you. This mining station feeds billions of people across the galaxy." Krex laughed. It sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Peace is for the weak. Your precious quantum crystals will fuel our war machine. Your people can work in our mines or join the dead. Choose quickly." The transmission ended. Around the station, the Zephyrian ships moved into attack formation. Their weapons began to glow with deadly energy. Far away in the empty space between star systems, another ship watched the unfolding disaster. The USS Liberty hung in the darkness like a sleeping giant. It was over 1 kilometer long, covered in armor plating that looked nothing like the smooth curves of other galactic ships. Where alien vessels were built for speed and elegance, the Liberty was built to fight. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge staring at the tactical display. His ship was humanity's first deep space warship, launched just 2 years ago. Earth's leaders had sent them to explore and learn about their new neighbors in the galaxy. They were supposed to watch and report back. They were not supposed to get involved in local conflicts. "Captain," said Commander Lisa Brooks, his second in command, "the Altarian station won't last another hour. Their shields are failing." Jake nodded but said nothing. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in 3 wars on Earth before humanity reached the stars. He knew what was about to happen at Kepler Station. He had seen it before in different places with different faces. Good people were about to die while others watched and did nothing. "What are our orders?" asked Chief Engineer Ryan Taylor. He was a young man with grease-stained hands and a mind for machines. The Liberty's weapons systems were his babies and he wanted to use them. "Observe only," Jake said quietly. "Do not engage. Do not interfere. Those are our orders from Earth." The bridge fell silent. On the screen they could see the Zephyrian ships preparing for their final attack. The station's shields flickered like a dying candle. Lieutenant Ben Carter, the communications officer, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I'm picking up civilian broadcasts from the station. The Altarians they're saying goodbye to their families." Jake's jaw tightened. "Put it on speaker." A young voice filled the bridge. It was a little girl, maybe 6 years old. She was singing in the musical language of the Altarians. The crew didn't need a translation to understand. It was a lullaby, the kind mothers sang to help children sleep. But this child was singing it to say goodbye. "That's Kira Veltane," Ben said softly. "The station commander's daughter." Dr. Helen Martinez, the ship's chief medical officer, wiped away a tear. She was a woman who had dedicated her life to saving people. Listening to a child prepare to die while they did nothing was breaking her heart. "Captain," Lisa said urgently, "we have the firepower to help them." "The Liberty could start a war," Jake finished. "Earth is barely 50 years old in space, Commander. We can't afford to make enemies with species that have been out here for thousands of years." "What if we're not making enemies?" Ryan asked. What if we're making friends? Jake looked around his bridge. His crew of 800 represented the best of humanity. They were soldiers, scientists, and explorers who had left Earth to find something better among the stars. They had not come here to watch innocents die. The little girl's song ended. In the silence that followed, Jake Morrison made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. Cut communications with Earth, he ordered. All hands to battle stations. Ryan, I want every weapon system online. Lisa, plot a course for Kepler Station. Ben, open a channel to the Zephyrian fleet. Sir? Ben asked, not believing what he was hearing. You heard me, Lieutenant. It's time to introduce ourselves to the galaxy. As alarms began to sound throughout the ship, Jake stared at the tactical display. In a few minutes, humanity would either save 8,000 innocent lives or start the first interstellar war in Earth's history. But sometimes, he thought doing the right thing was worth any risk. The USS Liberty turned toward Kepler Station and began to move. For the first time in galactic history, humans were going to war. The USS Liberty's engines hummed with power as the massive ship accelerated toward Kepler Station. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the center of his bridge, watching his crew prepare for something no human had ever done before. They were about to fight aliens in space. Captain, Commander Lisa Brooks said from her tactical station, long-range sensors show 12 Zephyrian heavy cruisers. Each one is about half our size, but their plasma weapons pack a serious punch. Jake nodded. The Liberty was bigger than any ship in the Zephyrian fleet, but size didn't always win battles. The aliens had been fighting in space for centuries while humans had barely left their home system. What do we know about their tactics? He asked. Lisa pulled up data on her screen. From what we've observed, they like to surround their targets and hit them from all sides. Their ships are fast but not very tough. They rely on overwhelming firepower to win quickly. Chief Engineer Ryan Taylor looked up from his console. Captain, all weapon systems are online. The railguns are charged, missile tubes are loaded, and the point defense systems are ready. But sir, we've never tested most of this equipment in real combat. That was the problem, Jake thought. Earth's military had designed the Liberty to fight other human ships. They had guessed at what alien weapons might be like, but they didn't really know. The ship's armor was built to stop human bullets and missiles. Would it work against alien plasma beams? They were about to find out. Time to target? Jake asked Navigator Alex Murphy. 18 minutes at current speed, sir, Alex replied. Should I plot an attack approach? Jake was quiet for a moment. Once they entered the battle, there would be no going back. Earth's government would be furious. Other alien species might see humans as a threat. Everything would change. But on his screen, he could see Kepler Station's shields getting weaker. The Altarians were running out of time. Dr. Martinez, Jake called to his chief medical officer. How are we on medical supplies? Helen Martinez looked up from where she was preparing the medical bay. We're ready for casualties, Captain. But I have to ask, are we really doing this? Are we really going to fight 12 alien warships to save people we've never met? Yes, Jake said simply. We are. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of computers and the soft beeping of sensors. Jake could feel his crew's eyes on him. They trusted him to make the right choice, even when that choice might get them all killed. Lieutenant Ben Carter suddenly spoke up from communications. Captain, I'm getting a priority message from Earth. Admiral Sam Collins wants to speak with you immediately. Jake sighed. He had been expecting this. Put him through. Admiral Collins' angry face appeared on the main screen. He was an older man with white hair and a permanent frown. Morrison? What the hell do you think you're doing? Your orders were to observe only. Turn that ship around right now. I'm sorry, Admiral, Jake replied calmly, but I can't do that. Can't? Collins' voice rose. Captain, you're about to start an interstellar war. The Zephyrians have allies. If we attack them, we could face invasion fleets heading straight for Earth. And if we do nothing, Jake said, 8,000 innocent people die while we watch. Is that the galaxy we want to be part of? One where the strong prey on the weak and everyone else looks the other way? That's not your decision to make, Collins shouted. You're one ship captain, not Earth's government. I order you to withdraw immediately. Jake looked around his bridge one more time. His crew was watching him, waiting to see what he would do. Ryan Taylor gave him a small nod. Lisa Brooks smiled grimly. Dr. Martinez crossed her arms and stared defiantly at the screen. Admiral, Jake said quietly, with respect, you're not here. You can't see what I'm seeing. You can't hear that little girl singing her last song. Sometimes a soldier has to do what's right, not what's safe. Morrison, if you do this, you'll face court-martial when you return to Earth. Your career will be over. Then I guess I better make it count, Jake replied. He nodded to Ben Carter, who cut the transmission. The main screen switched back to tactical display. They were now only 10 minutes away from Kepler Station. Jake could see the Zephyrian ships moving into their final attack formation. All hands, this is the captain, Jake announced over the ship's intercom. In a few minutes, we're going to do something that's never been done before. We're going to show the galaxy what humans are made of. We didn't come to the stars to hide in the corner. We came to stand up for what's right. He paused, thinking about his next words carefully. The Altarians are peaceful people who never hurt anyone. They're about to be destroyed by bullies who think might makes right. Well, today they're going to learn that humans have something to say about that. Throughout the ship, 800 men and women prepared for battle. Marines checked their weapons. Engineers made final adjustments to the ship's systems. Medical teams prepared for wounded. Everyone knew they might not survive the next hour. Captain, Alex Murphy called out. We're entering sensor range. The Zephyrians are hailing us. Put them through, Jake ordered. General Krex Vorthak's ugly face filled the screen. His yellow eyes narrowed when he saw Jake. Human, he spat. You are far from your little world. Turn around and go home before you get hurt. I don't think so, Jake replied. You're attacking innocent people. That ends now. Krex laughed his horrible laugh. 12 ships against one? You're either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Jake said with a slight smile. But here's something you should know about humans. We don't like bullies. The transmission ended. Around Kepler Station, the Zephyrian ships began to turn toward the approaching human vessel. Lisa, Jake said, target their flagship. Ryan, prepare to show them what human engineering can do. Alex, take us in. It's time to dance. The USS Liberty charged toward 12 enemy warships. Behind them, Earth waited in fear. Ahead of them, the Altarians watched in desperate hope. And throughout the galaxy, other species prepared to witness something that would change everything. Humanity was about to announce its arrival among the stars. Every sensor screen in the galaxy suddenly lit up with something impossible. A massive energy signature had just dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler Station. The ship was huge, bigger than anything in the Zephyrian fleet, bigger than most space stations. On 1,000 different worlds, military officers stared at their displays in confusion. The ship's design was unlike anything they had ever seen. Where most galactic vessels were smooth and elegant, this one was covered in angular armor plating. Strange projections stuck out from its hull like metal thorns. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human warship USS Liberty, came a voice on all communication frequencies. Zephyrian fleet, you will stop your attack immediately and leave this system. On the bridge of his flagship, General Krex Vorthak stared at the approaching vessel. His intelligence reports had said humans were primitive, barely capable of spaceflight. This ship looked like it could fight his entire fleet. Impossible, he growled. Humans are weak. Their ships are toys. His tactical officer looked nervous. General, that vessel is over 1 kilometer long. Its mass readings are off our charts. I don't care how big it is, Krex snapped. All ships target the human vessel. Let's show the galaxy what happens to those who interfere with the Zephyrian Empire. 12 Zephyrian cruisers turned their weapons toward the Liberty. Plasma cannons began to glow with deadly energy. On worlds across the galaxy, alien leaders held their breath. They were about to witness the first battle between humans and an established galactic power. On the Liberty's bridge, Captain Morrison watched the enemy ships prepare to fire. Lisa, what's our status? Commander Brooks checked her tactical display. All weapons ready, Captain. Shields are at maximum power. Our fighter squadrons are prepared to launch. Ryan, Jake called to his chief engineer, how are our new toys working? Ryan Taylor grinned from his station. All systems green, sir. The railguns are charged and ready. Point defense is online. And Captain? The aliens are about to get a very unpleasant surprise. The first wave of plasma fire erupted from the Zephyrian ships. Bright green bolts of superheated gas streaked across space toward the Liberty. Throughout the galaxy, observers expected to see the human ship destroyed or badly damaged. Instead, something amazing happened. The Liberty's shields absorbed the plasma bolts like they were raindrops hitting a roof. The ship didn't even slow down. Jake smiled grimly as he watched the surprised faces of his bridge crew. Human shield technology, he explained. We designed them to stop everything Earth's military could throw at them. Turns out they work pretty well against alien weapons, too. The Zephyrians fired again, this time with their entire fleet. The space around the Liberty lit up like a star going nova, but when the light faded, the human ship was still there, still coming straight at them. Impossible, Krex screamed. Nothing can survive that much firepower. On his bridge, Jake calmly gave his first order. Lisa, target their lead ships. Let's introduce them to human railgun technology. The Liberty's main weapons opened fire, but instead of plasma beams or energy bolts, solid metal rods shot out of the ship's guns at incredible speed. The tungsten projectiles moved so fast they were almost invisible. The first rod hit a Zephyrian cruiser dead center. The alien ship's energy shields, designed to stop plasma and lasers, did absolutely nothing. The metal projectile punched through the hull like it was made of paper. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Throughout the galaxy, military experts stared in shock. Kinetic weapons? Who still used kinetic weapons? Those were primitive, outdated, useless against modern defenses. Except they weren't useless at all. 2 more Zephyrian ships died in the next 30 seconds. The Liberty's railguns fired again and again, each shot tearing through alien hulls like they were made of thin metal. The Zephyrians had never faced weapons like these. Scatter formation. Krex ordered his remaining ships. Don't let them target us all at once. But Jake had been fighting space battles in simulators for years. He knew exactly how to handle scattered enemies. Alex, take us through their formation. Lisa, target the ships on our flanks. Let's show them how humans dance. The Liberty charged straight into the middle of the Zephyrian fleet. This was another shock for the watching galaxy. Most species fought at long range, using energy weapons and careful tactics. Humans apparently preferred to get up close and personal. As the massive human ship moved through the enemy formation, its point defense systems came online. These were designed to stop incoming missiles and fighters, but they worked just as well against Zephyrian plasma bolts. Streams of bullets and small lasers intercepted every shot before it could reach the Liberty's hull. Launch fighters, Jake ordered, from the Liberty's hangar bays. Small human spacecraft shot out like angry wasps. The pilots were led by Commander Nick Johnson and Lieutenant Amy Foster, 2 of Earth's best. But their flying style was unlike anything aliens had ever seen. Most galactic fighter pilots flew in careful formations, following established patterns. Human pilots flew like they were crazy. They rolled, twisted, and changed direction without warning. Zephyrian targeting computers couldn't keep up with such wild movements. What are they doing? Krex demanded as he watched human fighters weave through his ship formations like they were playing a game. His tactical officer had no answer. On his screen, 3 more Zephyrian ships exploded as Liberty's railguns found their targets. Jake wasn't finished. Ryan, prepare the electromagnetic pulse weapons. EMP ready, Captain, Ryan reported with obvious excitement. Fire. The Liberty released an invisible wave of electromagnetic energy. It was designed to disable Earth's satellites and computer systems. Against Zephyrian ships which relied heavily on computers, the effect was devastating. 6 alien cruisers suddenly went dark. Their engines stopped, their weapons shut down, their lights went out. They drifted helplessly in space like dead fish. In just 15 minutes, the Liberty had destroyed 4 Zephyrian ships and disabled 6 more. Only 2 were still fighting, and they were trying desperately to escape. General Krex Vorthak found himself commanding a dead ship. His computers were fried, his weapons were offline, and his engines wouldn't start. For the first time in his military career, he was completely helpless. On the Liberty's bridge, Jake opened a communication channel to the remaining Zephyrian ships. General Krex, he said calmly, this is your last warning. Leave this system now or we'll show you what human marines can do to your ships up close. Throughout the galaxy, the message was heard clearly. Humanity had just defeated an entire Zephyrian fleet without losing a single ship or crew member. The humans had introduced new weapons, new tactics, and a new way of thinking about space combat. But more importantly, they had shown that someone was willing to fight for the innocent. For the first time in centuries, the bullies of the galaxy had met someone stronger than themselves, and that someone was human. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The battle became a masterclass in human warfare that left every alien strategist scrambling to understand what they had just witnessed. General Krex Vorthak, floating helplessly in his disabled flagship, watched in horror as the remaining 2 Zephyrian ships tried to escape. But Captain Morrison wasn't done with them yet. "Lisa," Jake said calmly, "target their engines only. Let's show them we can be precise when we want to be." The Liberty's railguns fired twice. Each shot was perfectly aimed, hitting the fleeing ship's engine sections. The vessels stopped dead in space, their crews unharmed but trapped. "Now that's what I call surgical strikes," Commander Brooks said with satisfaction. But the real shock was yet to come. General Krex, desperate and angry, decided on one final act of spite. If he was going to lose, he would take as many innocents with him as possible. "All ships with working weapons," he ordered over his emergency communicator. "Target Kepler Station. Kill the civilians." 3 damaged Zephyrian vessels still had partial power. Their weapons began to charge, aiming not at the Liberty but at the space station full of Altarian families. On the Liberty's bridge, alarms started screaming. "Captain," Lisa shouted, "3 ships are targeting the station." Plasma buildup detected. "They're going to fire on the civilians." This was the moment that defined human warfare in the eyes of the galaxy. Most species would have tried to negotiate or threaten. Humans did something else entirely. "Ryan," Jake said with ice in his voice, "give me everything we've got. All railguns, all missiles, everything. I want those ships dead before they can hurt a single civilian." "Sir," Ryan replied, his hands flying over his controls. "At this range, with that much firepower, we risk damaging the station ourselves." "Then don't miss," Jake said simply. What followed was the most precise display of weapons fire ever recorded. The Liberty unleashed a storm of metal and explosives, but every shot was calculated to the millimeter. Railgun rounds passed within meters of Kepler Station's hull. Missiles weaved between the station's communication arrays. Not a single human weapon touched the Altarian facility, but the 3 Zephyrian ships were completely destroyed. Throughout the galaxy, military officers stared at their screens in disbelief. The level of accuracy required for such shooting was impossible. Computer targeting systems couldn't be that precise. How had the humans done it? The answer was simple but revolutionary. Human gunners weren't relying only on computers. They were using their eyes, their instincts, and their determination to protect innocent people. It was something no alien military had ever considered. "Captain," Communications Officer Ben Carter reported, "I'm getting a transmission from Kepler Station." Commander Zara Veltane's blue face appeared on the main screen. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. "Captain Morrison," she said in a voice full of emotion, "my people owe you our lives. We will never forget what you have done here today." "Just doing our job, Commander," Jake replied. "Are your people safe?" "Yes, thanks to you. But Captain, I must warn you, the Zephyrians have allies. Word of this battle will spread quickly. You may have made powerful enemies today." Jake nodded. He had known this moment would come. "Commander, we didn't come to the stars to make friends with bullies. If standing up for innocent people makes us enemies, then so be it." The bridge crew smiled at their captain's words. They had signed up to explore the galaxy, but they had found something better. They had found a purpose. Suddenly, Dr. Helen Martinez's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we're receiving wounded from the damaged Zephyrian ships. Request permission to bring them aboard for medical treatment." Jake didn't hesitate. "Permission granted, Doctor. Treat them as you would our own people." This decision sent another shockwave through the watching galaxy. Humans had just defeated their enemies in battle, and now they were offering medical aid to the same people who had been trying to kill them. On his dead ship, General Krex listened to his soldiers' communications in amazement. Human medical teams were boarding Zephyrian vessels, treating wounded aliens with the same care they would show their own people. Some of his soldiers were crying as they described the gentle treatment they were receiving. It was unlike anything in Zephyrian military experience. When they won battles, they either killed everyone or took slaves. The idea of helping defeated enemies was completely foreign to them. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "maybe we were wrong about humans." Krex said nothing. He was beginning to understand that this battle had changed more than just military balance in the galaxy. On Kepler Station, little Kira Veltane pressed her face against a viewing port and stared at the human ship. "Mama," she asked her mother, "are those the good aliens who saved us?" Zara smiled and picked up her daughter. "Yes, little star. Those are humans. And yes, they are very good." Captain Morrison stood on his bridge looking at the tactical display. The battle was over. 12 Zephyrian ships had been defeated by one human vessel. Not a single human life had been lost. The civilians were safe, but he knew this was just the beginning. Earth would be angry about his decision to fight. Other alien species would want to test human capabilities. The Zephyrians would want revenge. "Captain," Alex Murphy said from his navigation station, "we're getting sensor contacts. Multiple ships approaching the system." Jake's stomach tightened. "More enemies already?" "How many?" 15. No, 20 ships. Different designs. They're not Zephyrian." The main screen lit up with new contacts. Ships from a dozen different species were arriving at Kepler Station. Jake prepared for the worst. Maybe the entire galaxy was turning against humanity. Then the first message came through. "Human vessel, this is Captain Thren Galaxius of the Vegan Republic cruiser Harmony. We have come to offer our assistance and friendship to the species that stands up for the innocent." More messages followed. The Centauri Alliance wanted to discuss trade agreements. The Andromedan Confederation offered military cooperation. Species that had never even heard of Earth were requesting diplomatic contact. Jake realized what was happening. The galaxy hadn't turned against humanity. Instead, every species that had ever been bullied by the Zephyrians was rushing to meet the people who had finally stood up to them. Commander Brooks smiled as she read the incoming messages. "Captain, I think we just made a lot of new friends." Jake nodded, but his expression remained serious. "Yes, but we also made some very dangerous enemies. The Zephyrians won't forget this defeat. They'll be back, and next time they'll bring more ships." "Let them come," Ryan Taylor said from his engineering station. "We'll be ready." As the USS Liberty began receiving peaceful visitors from across the galaxy, Jake Morrison realized that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone among the stars. They had allies now and enemies and responsibilities they had never imagined. But most importantly, they had shown the galaxy what humans truly were. Protectors of the innocent, no matter the cost. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler Station, the galaxy was a very different place. The news of humanity's victory had spread to every corner of civilized space, and the reactions had been swift and dramatic. On Earth, Admiral Sam Collins stood in the war room of Human Defense Command, staring at a holographic map of local space. Red dots marked Zephyrian-controlled systems. Blue dots showed human allies. The map was covered in blue. 26 species have requested formal alliances, reported his aide, Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos. 15 more want trade agreements. And, sir, the Galactic Council has invited humanity to join as a full member. Collins shook his head in amazement. 6 months ago, Earth had been a nobody in galactic politics. Now they were being treated as a major power, all because one ship captain had decided to do the right thing. "What about Captain Morrison?" Collins asked. "The court-martial charges have been dropped," Santos replied. The president himself signed the order. Morrison has been promoted to admiral and given command of the new Liberty-class fleet. Collins smiled. He had been furious with Morrison at the time, but he had to admit the man had been right. Sometimes doing the right thing was more important than following orders. Far from Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Constitution, humanity's newest warship. It was even larger than the Liberty, with improved weapons and stronger armor. But more importantly, it wasn't alone. Through the viewports, Jake could see 6 more ships of the Liberty class under construction. "Admiral," Commander Lisa Brooks said from her captain's chair, "we're receiving a priority message from Kepler Station." The main screen lit up with a familiar blue face. Commander Zara Veltane smiled warmly at the camera. Behind her, Jake could see the bustling activity of a space station that had been completely rebuilt. "Admiral Morrison," Zara said, "I wanted to personally invite you to the dedication ceremony for Liberty Point." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Liberty Point? That's what we've renamed Kepler Station," Zara explained, "after the ship that saved us. The ceremony is next week, and we would be honored if you could attend." "I'll be there," Jake promised. "How are your people doing?" Zara's smile grew wider. "Better than ever. The quantum mining operation is running at full capacity. We've formed a mutual defense pact with 12 other peaceful species. And Admiral, my daughter Kira asks about you every day. She wants to be a starship captain when she grows up." After the transmission ended, Jake turned to look out at the stars. In the distance, he could see other ships from various species. Altarian science vessels, vegan exploration ships, Centauri defense platforms, all of them working together, all of them safe because humanity had been willing to fight. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about humanity's rise to power. In the dark depths of Zephyrian space, General Krex Vorthak stood before the Supreme War Council. His failure at Kepler Station had cost him his rank and his honor, but the Council still listened to his warnings about the human threat. "They have more ships now," he reported to the assembled leaders. "Our spies count at least 10 Liberty-class vessels under construction. Each one is more powerful than an entire squadron of our cruisers." Supreme General Vex Morthan, ruler of the Zephyrian Empire, studied the intelligence reports with cold eyes. "And their allies? Growing stronger every day," Krex admitted. "The humans have created a defensive network spanning 50 star systems. Species that were once neutral now actively oppose us. Our expansion has stopped completely." Morthan slammed his scaled fist on the table. "Unacceptable. For 500 years, the Zephyrian Empire has grown without stopping. We will not be held back by a pack of primitive mammals and their pet species." "Supreme General," another council member said nervously, "perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans seem willing to talk to reasonable." "Reasonable?" Morthan's voice was deadly quiet. "They humiliated us in front of the entire galaxy. They turned our own soldiers against us with their mercy and compassion. There will be no negotiation. There will be only war." He turned to address the full council. "Begin Phase 7 of the expansion plan. Contact our allies in the Outer Rim. Tell them the time has come to deal with the human problem permanently." Back on the Constitution, Jake was reviewing intelligence reports when an urgent message arrived from Earth. President Catherine Walsh's face appeared on his private screen. "Admiral Morrison," she said with a grave expression, "our long-range sensors have detected massive fleet movements in Zephyrian space. It looks like they're preparing for a major offensive." Jake nodded. He had been expecting this. "How long do we have?" "Intelligence estimates 6 months before they're ready to attack. Maybe less if they call in all their allies." "Then we'd better use that time wisely," Jake replied. "I'll contact our allies immediately. If the Zephyrians want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." The president smiled grimly. "Admiral, 6 months ago I would have been terrified by those words. Now I actually feel sorry for the Zephyrians. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into." After the transmission ended, Jake called his senior staff to the briefing room. Commander Brooks, Chief Engineer Taylor, Dr. Martinez, and a dozen other officers gathered around the holographic tactical display. "The Zephyrians are coming," Jake announced without preamble. "Intelligence suggests they're building the largest fleet in their history. This won't be like Kepler Station. This will be a full-scale war." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Ryan Taylor spoke up. "How many ships are we talking about, sir?" "Preliminary estimates suggest over 300 vessels, including their newest battleships. They're also calling in fleets from their allied species. We could be facing 500 ships or more." Dr. Martinez frowned. "Admiral, we only have 7 Liberty-class ships completed with 3 more under construction. How can we possibly fight those odds?" Jake smiled, and his officers recognized the expression. It was the same look he'd had before the Battle of Kepler Station. "The same way we always have, Doctor. We'll be smarter, faster, and more determined than they are. But more importantly, we won't be fighting alone." He activated the tactical display, showing the current positions of Allied fleets throughout human space. The Altarians are providing medical support and logistics. The Vegans have offered their stealth technology. The Centauri Alliance is building weapons based on our railgun designs, and 20 other species have pledged military support. Commander Brooks studied the display. "It's still going to be the biggest space battle in galactic history." "Yes," Jake agreed. "But we have something the Zephyrians don't understand. We're not fighting for conquest or territory. We're fighting for the right of peaceful people to live without fear. That's worth any sacrifice." As the meeting broke up and his officers returned to their duties, Jake remained in the briefing room, staring at the tactical display. Somewhere out there, the Zephyrian Empire was preparing to test humanity's resolve. They thought they could crush the humans and their allies through sheer numbers and brutality. They were about to learn that humans had taught the galaxy a new way to fight, with courage, honor, and an unbreakable determination to protect the innocent. The Battle of Kepler Station had been just the beginning. The real test of humanity's place among the stars was yet to come. But Jake Morrison was confident in one thing: When the Zephyrians arrived, they would find the galaxy very different from the one they had left. They would find a galaxy where bullies no longer ruled unopposed, where the innocent had protectors, and where the name human had become synonymous with hope. The galaxy had watched in shock as a human warship entered the fight 6 months ago. Soon they would watch in awe as humanity showed them what real warriors fought for. Not glory or conquest, but the simple right of good people to live in peace, and that was a fight worth winning.